Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Good morning and thank you so much for joining us. This is Business for Breakfast. I am your host, ANALYST Tota, and I am joined by my co-host, Miriam Kayemba. Miriam Kayemba, say hi to everyone.
Hi, morning.
Yes. So how are you? How is your day?
My day is okay. It's a lovely morning.
Okay. That's good. So we are going into weekend. We have weekend coming up, and I know that a lot of people are excited. You know, it's been a tiresome week. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you. For me, it has been a tiresome week, and I'm looking forward to the weekend.
I should say it has been a week full of quite different activities. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but before we even go further into discussing more about that,
yes,
we should go first of all more into the morning boost so that we can, keep.
We can be vibed into talking about business.
Exactly.
Today. Okay, thank you so much. So let's go for morning boost.
Good morning, Camnet viewers, and welcome to our quick morning show, quick morning workout, and you will be able to benefit from everything we're doing. So remember, the key thing is just for us to help you be fit, exercise, burn some fats in the body, stay fit, and so that your executive functions are on the peak. Okay, as usual, start with a warm-up. Let's go. Just a warm up. A warm up. Warm up. And marching. Hip, 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 hip. Invite everybody in the house. Let's do it together. Everyone is invited. We're going to throw some punches today. Let's go. Last one. All right. You're all welcome once again. Just in case you're getting out of your blankets, join us quick. Let's exercise together. All right, I promised that we're going to do some punches today. Okay, let's start. Two each now. One each. Two each. One each. Two each. One each. Low punch now. Go. Stay low. Watch my legs. Stay there. And up. Punch up. We're gonna mix them now. High punch and low punches. Ready? Let's go. Low punch. Up. Low punch. And matching. Okay, you did well with your punches. We're gonna do a knee high and the kick now. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Last one. 1, 2. Kick now. Let's go. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Back to knee. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Again. Knee high. Last knee. 1, 2. Kick now. If you feel your leg is heavy, let's do this. 1 and 2. Let's go, mama. 1, 2, 1, 2. High. Higher now. High. High. High now. Let's go. There you go. Kick. Can you hear me, Camnet team? Woo. Let's go. Let the blood flow. No more blood clot on your legs. Let's go. 1 and 2. And matching now. All right. Trust me, you did well with your punches and the knee highs and the kicks. Thank you so much. This is Isaac Matsa, your presenter. I'm gonna see you next week again as we do our quick morning show. Make sure that you don't miss this breakfast show. Thank you, and I sign out.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Camnet TV breakfast show, and specifically Fridays we always talk about business. But before we go much into details, maybe Prudence, you can just highlight our viewers what we have for today, what topics we'll be looking at this morning.
All right, thank you so much. So we said this week was full of activities because on Wednesday we saw the Central Bank of Zambia announce that it has increased the lending rates from 8.5% to 9.5%. And when we posted that on our page, a lot of people asked questions to say, what does this mean when the Central Bank of Government decides to increase the lending rates? What does that mean? How is it going to affect the common man? So this is a topic that we are going to be discussing in the first few hours of today. The topic will basically be about monetary policy. When they increase the policy rate, what does it mean? How will it affect you as a common man? Then moving on.
I think this is a topic that a lot of people would want to understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure you would want to. So just stay with us even as we discuss this topic so that you can get to know more about when the central government decides to increase the lending rates. What does that mean? How is it going to affect you? Then later on again in the day, we are going to discuss the state of the trading sector. We all know that trading is very important because this is what keeps our economy running. This is what keeps resources in our economy. But
exactly.
Where are we? What is the state of the trading sector?
Exactly. So Prudence, before you you and I delve more into that, in the studio we are joined by our sports reporter, Blessings Shakwila, who is just going to give us an update on what is happening in the football world.
Okay.
Hi, Blessings. Good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning, Prudence.
Good morning, Blessings.
So, Blessings, just highlight us what is some updates in the football world. What's going on?
Good morning, viewers. So locally we are going to discuss men's football. There will be a commencement of under 20 COSAFA, men's COSAFA under 20, which is going to take place in December somewhere, the 10th and the 18th. And the hosting nation will be Eswatini this time around. So let's look out for the men's football, of which of late I think it hasn't been doing or faring so well. I don't know why, but then the men's football needs a lot of attention. I don't know whether we need to change the technical bench. I don't know what we need to do to up our game when it comes to the men's football. Okay. So apparently some of the qualifying countries, we have Botswana, we have Eswatini itself, which is hosting, we have Lesotho, we have Zambia, we have Zimbabwe, South Africa, sorry, and we have Mozambique. Those are some of the qualifying. And then when it comes to the international, there is the UEFA Europa that is currently ongoing also. We saw teams like Rangers scoring goals yesterday. Rangers scored 2 goals. We saw Leicester City having scored 3 goals. So basically football is happening this time around. Let's stay tuned and just look at what's happening in the football world.
Okay, just talking about the game that Leicester played yesterday, we saw Patson Daka, our own.
Our very own.
Very own, yes, make us proud again. What do you think? Do you think we have more of Zambians who can represent us at that level on the international football?
I think, yes, Prudence, I think we do have, locally we do have, we just need to identify some individuals that can embrace the spirit that Patson Daka is carrying on, that Enoch Mwepu is carrying on, for example, and represent Zambia at a higher and at a higher level, to say.
Okay, then also in the local sports, you talked about where Zambia will be participating. Where do you think we are? Do we have a chance that these coming up games we can fare well?
Well,
because we have seen in the past, like we haven't been doing quite good. Yeah. Is there any hope for us?
They say football is a 90 minutes game. So I think with proper training, everything put in place, proper mindsets, I think we have a chance. Zambia has a chance. And for me, I think it all has to do with the mental state of people. You find that the local players that we have, I think they're not embracing their duties or their roles perfectly in the football world. So I think they should emulate good spirits and, you know, just work hard in whatever it is that they are doing.
Okay, we did see a lot of debates on social media to say our football team is underperforming. Maybe perhaps we need to... You know,
others have blamed it on the coaches. Others have blamed it on FAS. Yeah. And
others are saying maybe we need the old technical experts to be brought into the game. Do you think maybe that's the way to go for us to revamp our national team?
Sometimes, Prudence, it's nice to listen to what people are saying. The observations they are giving out, there's obviously a reason to everything. But I think, yes, there's a need to change the technical bench, and there's a need for Zambia to come up with a very good coach that's going to help us and help the football in Zambia. There has been so many cries about, you know, changing a lot of positions, maybe at FAS, people asking for the dismissal, for example, for the vice president,
Andrew Kamanga.
There has been a constant cry, but then why can't we maybe give a chance to the ones that are watching, the viewers that are watching, the soccer fans that are watching, and just see what's next?
Okay, thank you so much, Blessing, for that update. This is the Camnet TV breakfast show where we talk about business every Friday. So we'll go on a short break and stay tuned.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 07:30 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 09:30 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chuluwa comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for still staying tuned to Camnet TV, not just another channel. This is the breakfast show every Friday where we talk about business. So as I said earlier, Miriam, today we are discussing the policy rate. When the Central Bank of Zambia announced that it has increased the lending rates from 8.5% to 9.5%. What does it mean? What do you know about it? How would it affect you as a common person? So don't forget to call the number that is on the screen for contributions or for questions or for clarifications. Later on in the show, we will be joined by Blessings KAFWANKA. He is an economist, a financial analyst, who is going to help us discuss this topic in detail.
Exactly. I think that's one thing that personally I'm also looking forward to. You know, we want to have a basic understanding of what this means and how personally I will be affected as an individual. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. But before we get to discuss this topic and before our guest joins us, we are going to play you a clip of what the central bank said so that you understand what is it that we are going to be discussing this morning. So back to our technical team for that.
The primary objective of monetary policy is to reach and maintain a low and stable inflation rate and to achieve a long-term gross domestic product GDP growth trend. Wednesday, the Bank of Zambia responded by raising the interest rates by 50 basis points to 9.0% from 8.50% to help bring down high inflation. Bank of Zambia Governor Dr. Denny Karelia explains that the move is aimed at ensuring financial stability.
The decision of the Monetary Policy Committee is that we decided to raise the policy rate by 50 basis points, which brings it to 9% from its previous 8.5%. The magnitude may surprise you many, or even the fact that we had to raise the policy rate under the current circumstances. But there are a number of factors that underpinned that decision.
The annual inflation was running at more than 21% in October, down from a peak of above 24% in the middle of the year, but still well above the Bank of Zambia 6 to 8% target. Dr. Karelia says inflation is expected to average 15.1% next year and 9.03% in the first quarter of 2023. This week's monetary policy meeting was Dr. Karelia's first since his reappointment in September by President Hakainde Hichilema, who succeeded Edgar Lungu, who had earlier fired him prior to the August 12 general election.
Administrative adjustment to fuel, pump prices and the electricity tariffs. The reasons are sound because you want to restore fiscal sustainability, but in so doing, there is that inflationary pressure that sets in when you do that. But the expectation is that that's a necessary adjustment to enable us going forward to enjoy better prices for fuel, better tariffs and supply of electricity going forward. Because if we don't do that, we'll continue having the challenges that we have been facing.
Zambia has more than 14 billion of external debt, and the central bank urged the government to complement fiscal reforms to complement an objective for low and stable inflation.
We see that the modest adjustment in the policy rate took account of the need to continue supporting economic activity and maintain financial stability. Further, the committee calls for effective implementation of fiscal reforms to complement the achievement of low and stable inflation.
According to the central bank, economic growth this year was seen at 3.3%, with growth of 3.5% and 3.7% forecast in 2022 and 2023 respectively. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Thank you so much. Miriam, what would you really say government has said?
Well, you know, basically, I think government has already told us that this is something that they need to do in order for us to be, you know, to see something positive for our economy. I know that there are quite a lot of debates out there, yeah, but I'm not an expert. Anyway, we will be joined by someone who is going to explain much in detail. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
I see.
So,
okay. So
basically, to throw the ball back to you, what do you think? Was it necessary for government to announce this at this stage?
Okay.
Is it something that we want currently?
Okay. Okay. So the way it is if you see the explanation that the Bank of Zambia has given for increasing the policy rate, is the fact that the country's inflation has been quite high. We saw inflation going even as high as 24%. That was the highest it has ever been in a long time, in almost 32 months or 38 months, if not mistaken. We saw our inflation really go high, which affected the price of goods and commodities. We saw commodity price on the market really go high. So what the Central Bank of Zambia is saying is the decision to increase the policy rate was because they wanted to cater for inflationary pressure, which has been mounted. Because, you know, government projected that by now our inflation was supposed to be between 6 to 8%. Yes, but if you see, it's above 20, so that was way too high. It was like more than 100% high than what was projected. So the Central Bank of Government is saying what they want is to ensure that they deal with inflation so that they can reduce it can be reduced to where they are projecting. So those are the things they put into consideration. But we are not experts. That's why I said earlier to say we will be joined by an expert who's going to help us understand more. But when we talk about inflation, most of the time people ask, what is inflation?
Yes. What is inflation?
Yes.
Exactly.
So yeah, so basically inflation is just the change in price of goods and commodities over a certain period of time. So when the price of commodity last year was at this particular price, and this year it escalates to a certain price, that will be used to measure inflation, because it will be compared, when you talk about annual inflation, it will be compared to how it was last year and how it is this year. What is the price change in commodity? So from last year to this year, we saw the price go even as high as 21%. That was the difference. That's why the Bank of Zambia now is saying, no, you know what we need to do is, in order to ensure that we are where we project, let's increase the lending rates the lending rates are the rates at which the central banks give out money or loans. But interestingly, yesterday, Miriam, the Zambia Statistical Agency announced that the country's inflation had at least slowed down to 19.3% from where it was at about over 21%. So we are
now, what does this mean for the country?
Okay, that's good. So what it means is that over last year and today, or if you look at where inflation was last month, it means we've seen a reduction in the price of goods and commodities on the market. That's why now our inflation is at least slowing, and we are hopeful that if such continues, we are going to see more reduction in the prices of goods and commodities. So just taking you to the clip, the inflation rate. Yesterday, I mentioned earlier to the Central Statistics announced that the country's inflation has slowed down. So let's just go to that clip.
The country has in the last 6 months witnessed a reduction in the export of both traditional and non-traditional items to other countries, a situation that has raised questions as to why this has been the case. Zambia Statistical Agency Interim Statistician General Mulenga Msepa has revealed that the decrease in export was mainly on account of decrease in raw materials, intermediate goods and capital goods by 2.5%, 0.1% and 29.8% respectively.
What we are seeing from the graph is that despite the trade balance, which was positive, you see that the exports are not doing quite well. I think the highest we had in the year was in April at 21.7 billion, and from then on it's been declining slowly up to 16 billion in October.
Mr. Msepa, however, says there is need to investigate why the country's exports have been reducing, considering the fact that raw materials such as copper, which is the country's major commodity export, has seen an increase in the price on the international market.
But like I said, I think we need to investigate further and look at the main components of our exports, looking at copper, what's happening in terms of production, and what's happening in terms of the copper being put on the export market. Because if you look at the prices basically have been quite strong. Okay.
Meanwhile, the country's annual inflation rate for the month of November has slowed down to 19.3% from 21.1% recorded in October of 2021 due to the price reduction in both food and non-food items.
Inflation basically on an annual basis falling to 19.3% from 21.1%, and driven by both food and non-food inflation, which slowed down. For all the provinces, annual inflation declined in all the provinces.
And while the total trade in October 2021 decreased by 3.8%, a trade surplus of 5.3 billion kwacha was recorded in October 2021. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Thank you so much for still staying tuned to Camnet TV, Miriam.
Exactly, Prudence. That's quite, quite a number of lineup stuff that we had that we're discussing about this morning. Okay. But anyway, before we go much into details, we'll go for a short break, but we'll be joined by the Global Traders Association of Zambia President, Mr. Joseph Bana, who is going to talking about the state of the trading sector in Zambia. So we'll go for a short break and then, we'll discuss about that.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 0930 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chuluwa comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Okay, so we were supposed to be joined by Mr. Blessings KAFWANKA, an economist who was supposed to help us discuss the policy rate. But he'll be coming later in the show because of one or two unforeseen circumstances, unfortunately, Miriam, but he will be joining us to discuss this topic. But before we get to discuss that, we have another guest in studio, Mr. Joseph Chanda, who is the president for the Global Traders Association of Zambia, and we are going to be discussing the state of the trading sector in Zambia. Remember earlier we did mention, Miriam, to say trade plays an important role in our economy. But we've seen there was the issue of the COVID, we've seen how it affected the traders, more especially the global traders who trade at with the global sector or other countries. So we now want to see where we are in terms of the state of the trading sector in Zambia. Mr. Joseph Chanda, welcome to the Breakfast Show.
Good morning, Prudence, and good morning, Miriam. Good morning to you.
Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. Mr. Joseph is the president, as I mentioned earlier, for the Global Traders Association of Zambia. And to talk about this state, Mr. Chanda, after the announcement of the 2022 national budget, what aspect of it spoke to the plight of the cross-border traders in Zambia?
Maybe before I answer that question, Global Traders Association of Zambia was formed last year with a primary objective of bringing together Zambian traders for the purposes of developing and preserving their businesses for the future generation. Because we've seen it within ourselves that when someone dies, then also the business dies. And also is to enhance communication between the traders and the government and other stakeholders, because we haven't had this association for a very long time, and that's why we've seen that it has been very difficult for local traders to prosper because there hasn't been any connection amongst themselves, you know. Now coming to your question, you know, there are a lot of positives that were mentioned in the plight of the local traders. For instance, the government has given us a ministry, which we never had in the past governments. Of course, we are falling under the Ministry of Commerce and Trade, but you know, it's a matter of priorities, you know, because it was dealing with international investors and also local traders. Mm. And sometimes some of us, we only employ 2 or 3 people in our shops. But when you look at the investors, they'll be employing thousands and thousands of workers. Now, the plight of the workers in this speech by the Minister of Finance when he was presenting his budget is the fact that he pronounced an allocation to our minister. Of course, we'll discuss about that. And also, there is an aspect of where the government said they will come up with provisions that will help guarantee the local traders, the SMEs, which is very good because it has been difficult for our members to get loans, especially that they don't have anyone to guarantee them, you know, those collateral that some of the lending institutions are asking for, were unable to have them. And also there is also a pronouncement that they were talking to the European Bank of European Investment Bank and also the UK aid, who I must understand that they will be bringing in soft loans for our members.
Okay, that's interesting. Miriam, what do you think?
Well, I know local traders do play a very important role in our economy, as well as contributing to the revenue of this country. But despite that, I know there are quite a number of challenges that they have continued to face, given the fact that they also have to compete against foreign traders. Exactly. So getting back to another question, I know there's this ministry that has been put in place that can help local traders, the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises. What are some of the expectations that traders are expecting from them?
We are expecting a lot because, you know, we haven't had this ministry that will purely look in the pride of the local traders, and this has also contributed to some of the problems that we have been facing for a very long time, because we didn't have our own ministry. You know, I can tell you that there are more than 3 million traders in Zambia, and not having our own ministry, it was quite unfortunate. So we hope and trust. Our expectation is very, very, very high, because one, we need to engage one another on issues that we've been facing in the past, some of which we'll discuss. So we expect a lot of things, but as an association, what we did when this was announced, we had to go for a general meeting with our members and discuss some of the challenges, some of which we raised them in the previous government, and very little was done. And we have officially returned to this ministry, you know, to highlight our plans and also our challenges that we face. And though we haven't yet received the feedback, hope and trust that very soon we're going to receive the feedback. So there are a lot of expectation that we anticipate from this ministry, as I said earlier on, is a ministry that will purely look into the pride of the local traders, unlike it was in the past where we didn't even have a ministry to look into our plight.
Okay, so just to go back to the same question, I know you have mentioned that you had faced a lot of challenges with the previous government. Then we have the New Dawn government in place. Do you think this ministry can succeed if others have failed in the past?
You know, it's the reason that I mentioned earlier on also that we're falling under the Ministry of Commerce and Trade. We're trying to balance the ship between the local traders and the international investors, you know. But having our own local ministry that will look into our plight, I think there is everything for it to succeed. But what is very important and very cardinal is to work hand in hand with the ministry. Because if we continue working in isolation, then we are not going to achieve anything. So the onus is on us, the players and the officials. How do we move forward? Because if there is no smooth communication, then it will be difficult for any ministry, not only this, for any ministry to succeed, you know. So that's why we are calling upon, in our letter we indicated that let's have an INDA and see how we can move forward. Because you know that there were some pronouncements that were done by the previous government, for instance, that broke making and keeping of chicken should be left for Zambians. But did that happen? You know, did that happen? So there was lack of proper communication between what the pronouncement and what was happening on the ground. So this is what we need to start enhancing. If pronouncements are made, I will do for them, because pronouncing something is different from implementing it. So we need to start engaging one another on the issue that affects the local traders. So for us to succeed, we should just have to work together for the purpose of developing our
So far, can we say there has been a positive response in terms of you engaging with government regarding this issue? No,
not as at yet, because we just wrote to them 2 weeks ago, and on Wednesday we made a follow-up. The letter is still in the minister's office, so hopefully by next week we'll be able to get a proper feedback.
Okay. Okay, so as we were even discussing earlier with Miriam, we saw the central bank on Wednesday announce that they had increased the lending rates to 9.0%. But the high lending rates in most instances have been affecting small businesses. This is what we know. Small businesses have been saying the rate at which Zambia is able to loan out or lend out money has been high, which has been affecting small businesses from getting loans, because in most instances you find that when they get these loans, for them to pay back, it equally chokes them. I don't know what has been experienced for you as a viewer. Perhaps would like to hear from you how it has been. If you're doing a business, how is it that your business has been faring? Have you been able to get loans? What can you say concerning that? So high lending rates is one of the major challenges affecting traders. So Mr. Chanda, how could affordable lending rates help the industry, and how can this be achieved? And maybe just going forward, how can the government remedy the high lending rates?
You know, initially, you know, the lending rate has been very, very high in this country, and that has prevented a lot of progression, especially from our members, you know. But with this development, I think we need more details as to why we are going to that direction when we have been choked like for a very long time. Because if you look at the pronouncement of the president, sometimes it's contrary to what the officers are doing, you know. The president has been very categorical to say he wants to see a reduction in doing the way we do business in Zambia, because he's a businessman. He's coming from that background. But when the officers are doing opposite, I mean, it's worrying us. You know, the rate has been very, very, very high, you know, regardless of the status of this country. It has been very, very high, and it has affected most of our members. For instance, like most of our members who got a loan from these private lending institutions, they had lost their businesses, they had lost their properties, you know, because of other challenges, that is also COVID, you know, which came in, and they were unable to pay. Why? Because of the high lending rates, you know, they are very, very high. So they were unable to pay. As a result, most of them, they lost property and they lost their businesses. So with this development whatsoever reason, I think it's a sad scenario for us as traders, because now we need to pay more than we usually used to pay when we get a loan from the banks or other private lending institutions.
Okay, do you have, among your members, do you have businesses that have approached you or businesses that have closed during this COVID-19 period, and due to the fact that most of them got loans and they are unable to pay back, so they decide maybe just to sell all their product and pay that money to the bank in order to at least give them a bit of some breathing space?
There are a lot of members who lost businesses and who closed up their businesses. They lost properties and other stuff because of the reason that you have alluded to. They were unable to pay because of COVID, and you know, it was very difficult even for the previous government to negotiate on our behalf, because we told them about this, to say, you know, this is unforeseen circumstance, you know, no one anticipated COVID. So now I can confirm here that most of our members closed their businesses, and we have we used to receive those information not only in Lusaka but countrywide. You know, it's quite unfortunate that they lost property and they lost the product that they used to sell. Okay.
It's just on that, just to recall, do you have any mechanism in place that you have put in place to ensure that once your members face such situation, you are able to come forth and maybe assist them?
You know, the other problem that is there is when members are, this is what we're working on, when members goes to get individual loans, it's difficult for us to come in, because now by the time maybe they were getting their loan, we are not involved. So, and in most cases, banks, they don't entertain third parties unless you are able to bail them out. But do we have the capacity to bail them out? At the moment, we don't have that capacity. So that's why I actually even happy with the government, because it is encouraging a cooperative and association, so that maybe they can work together and see how they can support each other. Because like I said, when I go to the bank as an individual, it's difficult for the association to intervene in that regard.
Okay. Okay, that is interesting. So are you running a business? Have you gotten a loan from the bank before? What has been your experience? You can call the number that is on the screen so that we can just get to hear how your experience has been with regards to the lending rates in Zambia, with regards to how the financial institutions treated you. In studio, we are joined by the traders, the Global Traders Association of Zambia President, Mr. Joseph Chanda, who's helping us discuss the state of the trading sector in Zambia. Where are we with regards to businesses? We now know that government has introduced a new Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise with the hope,
of which a lot of people have much expectation.
Yes, exactly. Yes, especially businesses, with the hope that the ministry is going to help revamp the small businesses and medium enterprise. But one of the other major challenge, Miriam and Mr. Chanda, that we've seen is that the institutions that are now running properties, or the institutions that have renting out properties, in order for them to equally not feel the impact of what is happening in the economy, they've started charging for rent in US dollars. Because they are saying the kwacha is unstable. We keep seeing the kwacha appreciate, the kwacha depreciate, and stuff like that.
And you know, that is one thing, I'm sure it's a big challenge.
Yeah, it is a big challenge. You are a small business, you want to rent an apartment, but you're being told the apartment is being charged in United States dollars. Mr. Joseph, just help us to understand the change in currency. How is this affecting business traders in general, the charging of rent in US dollars?
Well, this is another challenge that we as local traders we've been facing. And we hope and trust that this government will look into this critically, because we have a legal tender, which is a kwacha as a nation. So why should we entertain people transacting in dollars, especially for transactions that are less than even 50,000 kwacha? You know, it's quite unfortunate that most of the properties, the commercial properties, especially in CBD, are owned by foreigners, which is a danger again to this country. We are seeing it now expanding even to compounds, you know, which is a danger, because we are going to have a situation where in our own country we'll be tenants, you know. So these are issues that we have raised in this government and in the previous government, that in some sites it's difficult now to find a Zambia, because they were unable to pay rentals, you know. And the unfortunate part of it is when a Zambian local trader is moved from those spaces because they were unable to pay rentals, the person who occupies it in the following day is a foreigner, you know. And this gives me a lot of question as to why, because some of our members who have failed to pay when they introduced this issue of paying in dollars, they were able to pay in kwacha, you know, and they had occupied some of those spaces for quite a long time. But with the introduction of paying rentals in kwacha, it affected their business because they were unable to plan properly. For instance, today the dollar is trading as 17.7. You never know. Who knows how much it will be at the end of the month. So it was also difficult for any of our members to plan how much they are going to pay as rentals at the end of the day, because they could not assume how much the dollar will be on the day of paying the rentals. So this is one area where we're saying local traders has generally affected us, because it has resulted in also most of our members losing trading spaces. And this is also one way where, you know, it's another way which has increased on the number of vendors, you know. So when I hear some of the pronouncement about vendors being chased from the street, I question myself. Let's go to the root cause of this, you know. Most of the spaces that can be occupied by Zambians are occupied by traders, and they're not even. I mean, they are occupied by foreign traders. You know, and the unfortunate thing, part of it is those so-called foreign traders. They are trading products that are purely manufactured in Zambia. So, what is really the problem? You know, how do we attract proper investment if we can allow such a situation to continue? So this is one area where we have highlighted to this government to say, let's sit down and see how this can be done, because at the end of the day, everyone at the month end will be looking for a dollar, and we are giving it a fake demand, because at the end of the day I need to pay my rental in dollars.
Okay, we have seen the government has allocated 350 million kwacha in the budget of SMEs, and how it should be used, and is it enough for the SMEs, and how is it in your own view?
You know, from my own understanding, no money is enough, but it's the way you use them. And that's why we are saying to this ministry to say, let's have an endeavor, because this money is not enough. One, if it is given to people who are just going to squash it, who are not going to pay it back. But it is enough if we say this is a revolving fund. Let's give it to people who have the capacity to pay back. Because this, like I said, it should be a revolving fund, where if I use it today, I must have the capacity to pay back, so that medium prudence, if you want to do something, you can go there and borrow it. But if we say we are going to give it to people who have no capacity to pay back, then it's not enough. You know. So this is why we are urging the ministry to say, let's sit down and see what are the processes and guidelines for someone to acquire this loan. You know, it sounds good, but we need to understand the processes, you know, and the guideline of how to pay back and how to get it. If this is not clear to us SMEs, then I don't know.
Okay. Mr. Chanda, with regards to your association, maybe for someone who's listening, for a trader out there, how do you become part of your association?
As long as, of course, we are encouraging registered businesses, because, you know, for any development, you need to legalize your business. You know, we need to legalize your business, because that is one way of also developing. So for someone to qualify to be our member, our annual subscription fee is on 300 kwacha. Yes.
And maybe you can just highlight some of the benefits they would want to know. They can be
within the 1 year of our being in existence, we have achieved 2 milestones, where one of our traders sent money to China, equivalent to 70,000 kwacha. And it took months without communicating to the individual that they sent the money to. So we had to write to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We engaged our ambassador in China, and within 1 month, that individual recovered the money. And the latest one was involving a Zambian based in South Africa, who also wanted to take advantage, because most of our members were unable to travel to South Africa. And they sent him the money, but he couldn't send the goods. So we also we went through the same process, and finally the goods were sent. But you know, the most worrying thing in Zambia is when people are coming up with such kind of ideas, they always want to see an immediate benefit.
Exactly.
You know, which has killed us. Some of these people we are seeing who have succeeded, they did not start yesterday. You know, they started, let's look at the idea. Is the idea good? If we can support it. For instance, we are talking of abolishing rentals being charged in kwacha.
In dollars.
If that is in dollars, I mean. If that is implemented, is it only going to benefit our members? You know, it's going to benefit almost everyone who was paying dollars. So those are some of the ideas that people should just look at to say, okay, look at this idea they are presenting. Is it a good idea or is it a bad idea? Okay. We are saying to the government, why should we allow people who are coming in the country as investors want to be turned into distributing carpet pots in the compound and give the people on labor? You know, is that a good, you know, thing to allow? Where are we going to start as Zambians?
As Zambians, exactly.
Because for instance, for myself, when I was working, I used to give people jackets, trousers on credit kakaloba. You know, you give those, you know, you know. And when I left, at least I had somewhere to start. I had something to start with, you know. And if this is what we are calling competition, then this is not a fair competition. We should entertain in a country where most of our people are struggling to earn a living.
What do you think government should do when it comes to that?
You know, it's the way. I can question the way we monitor some of these things, because why? It's not just a matter of allowing people to come as investors. Do we monitor them what they are doing? You know, do we monitor them what they are doing? We must have a monitoring program. You know, I am privileged to go outside Zambia, even within Africa. In most cases, I have to move with my passport. In most cases, I have to move with my air ticket. You know, just to verify that, okay, you are here in this country, and probably you go back. But in Zambia, it has been very, very difficult. And because 2 weeks ago, when the immigration department had arrested a lot of people, you know, that should continue. That should continue. Because I am speaking from an experienced point of view where if immigration come to CBD, you find that most shops will close before even the officers reaches their point of sale. They will close properly. So what are they learning from? You know, these are some of the things that we also need to up our game, because we have seen a situation where people, even our sisters who are plaiting hair, the space has been the space has been taken. The space has been taken. So the competition is real. No, but the competition is very healthy. But to what extent? To what extent?
Yeah.
You know, it's the extent that is. I mean. We should understand the extent where we should allow our brothers to come and do some of the things that we are unable to do. You know, but if we just allow it to say it's for the sake of competition, it's difficult, because like I said earlier on, we have a lot of people who are struggling to earn a living. So we should also think of them. It's not just because we are comfortable today. Tomorrow we might, because you know, last week I was listening to one person in Uganda who was saying Ugandans are not sleeping because some of them are going to bed with an empty stomach. And some of them are going to bed with worried mind to say, no, the poor are not sleeping. They might come to attack us. So no one is sleeping in Uganda. The rich are worried that the poor are not sleeping because they're hungry, so they might come and attack them. The poor are not sleeping because they have empty stomach. It's difficult for you to sleep.
Okay, Mr. Chandas raised a very important point. You know, we take things sometimes lightly, and when you go in town, you'll see there is an influx of our colleagues from the DRC who played the so-called Maasai.
That's Kenya.
Is actually. It? Oh yeah, we've got from Kenya, we've got from Congo, who do the code Maasai. Is it that our own hairdressers in Zambia can't do that? But who's giving these guys permission to come into Zambia? Who's giving them licenses to start businesses? Because you know, even if you want to set up a salon, of course you need a license, because there's a little bit of tax that you have to pay. Are they paying even tax? You know, these are the questions which we'd be asking ourselves. And just, I think a few months ago, I visited Kapirimponshi. I was really surprised, Miriam and Mr. Chanda, to find that these guys are now even in Kapiri. So it's like they are leaving no stones unturned. Exactly. They are like everywhere you go. And there is now this increase, in as much as, you know, this may look as if it's a small issue, but this is killing business for our local people.
This is a competition which has turned to something else. I know we have taken it lightly as a country, but it's something that we should look upon. It's something that we should look with concern. We should look at with concern, because at the end of the day, it's the majority local traders who are going to be affected if this issue is not addressed. Exactly.
You know, just from there, I had privilege to go. I mean, to go to China at one time. And I went to this area, the famous Dongtong area, where you find the African port. And I looked at the menu, and I just discovered about that restaurant after a week of being in China. So I missed in Shima. I said, let me place in Shima. I placed in Shima, and I was very impressed with the way it was prepared. So when I peeped through the window to where food was preparing, I did not see any African. Okay, and fortunately, the owner of that restaurant is married to a Ghanaian. So I seek for our audience just to appreciate the Nshima, because it was like the one that we
prepare in Zambia.
And good enough, I found pembe milling there. They were using pembe milling.
Wow.
But initially they were using Zimbabwean milling.
Okay.
Recently when I went there, it was pembe milling. I was happy about that. I asked them, who taught them how to teach, how to cook Nshima? He said, you know what we did? When we sat with my husband, we send Chinese to West Africa to go and learn how to cook jollof rice and those that are eaten in Eastern Africa, Western Africa. And also they sent people to Zimbabwe to come and learn how to cook Nshima. And that's how come they're able to cook nshima like the one we're cooking here. So like we are saying, we have Maasai who knows how to practice. We can send them to Kenya to go and learn how to do that. You know, because they looked at the employment creation, you know, instead of bringing in people from outside China. That is disadvantaging the people of China. So what did they do? They sent them to go and learn how to cook this food, which is eaten in Africa. And then they went back to China and started preparing for us.
Okay, there you have it, our viewers. We were discussing about state of the trading sector in Zambia, and to help us just highlight more about this was Mr. Joseph Chanda, the Global Traders Association of Zambia President. Prudence, yes. I know we had quite a lot of topic highlights coming out from this
fruitful discussion. Exactly. So for those who might have a comment or something, you can call through, or you can send a message to our Facebook page on how you can contact Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph, maybe in just concluding, in just summing up, where are you found and where can our traders locate you if they want to get in touch with your association?
We are found along Malaysia Road, plot number 10488.
Okay.
Malaysia Road, just opposite automotive equipment. Yes.
Okay. There you have it.
So my number is.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please go ahead.
My number is 0977 405368. I'll say that again. 0977 405368.
Okay. Thank you so much. There you have it. This is Business for Breakfast. We are going to take a short breather and see you on the other side.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 0930 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chuluwa comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Okay, thank you so much for still staying with us. So when we just started this program, we did, not rather announce, but we did say that we are going to be joined by Mr. Blessings KAFWANKA, by Mr. Blessings KAFWANKA, who is a business and financial analyst, to help us discuss the monetary policy. What does it mean? Because we saw the central bank on Wednesday announce that they had increased the lending rates by 0.5 basis point, by 0.5% or 50 basis point, from 8.5% to 9.5%. So for a common man like me or you who's watching, how is this going to affect you? So in studio, we have been joined by Mr. KAFWANKA. Sir, good morning, and say good morning to the viewer.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation, and good morning to our viewers as well.
Okay. So just before Mr. KAFWANKA came in, Miriam, we were discussing the state of the trading sector in Zambia with Mr. Chanda, who is the president for the Global Traders Association of Zambia. And among the things that we discussed was the fact that the lending rates is a major challenge for small businesses. According to the president for the association, the lending rates in Zambia are so high that sometimes they affect small businesses. But when we talk about these lending rates, when you talk about the monetary policy, when we talk about all these issues, what is it that we are discussing? So the committee on Wednesday, as I said earlier, Miriam, they increased the lending rates by 50 basis points. So this now takes me to Mr. KAFWANKA. What does this mean when the Bank of Zambia says we've increased the lending rates by 50 basis point or by 0.5%? What does that mean?
In a layman's language.
Don't know with the jargon. The jargons, exactly. For someone who's watching who has no idea, what does that mean?
I think you've already put it in a simpler way.
Okay.
It basically means that lending rates have been adjusted upwards.
Okay.
By 0.5%. Basically means that the common man out there who might have a loan with the bank, they should expect the bank to get in touch with them, either to write to them or maybe find a memo that has been written in the bank indicating that the loan that they have with the financial institution has been adjusted upwards in terms of interest by 0.5%.
Okay.
It also means that people that would like to go and get loans, whether it's a personal loan or it's a loan for a business, it basically means that the interest rate has been adjusted upwards. Okay, so it also means that your disposable income to some extent has reduced. That is, if you have not been given any salary increment by your employer, or maybe you are not making as much from your business, your profit levels have not changed. It basically means that your finance costs have gone up. So the amount of profit that you should expect should reduce marginally, by a small percentage.
Okay, so Mr. KAFWANKA, when the Bank of Zambia governor announced that among the reasons why the lending rates were increased is the fact that inflation has remained high in the country.
That's right.
Maybe just before I ask this question, okay, just make a viewer understand when we talk about inflation.
What is it?
Yeah.
I'm sure viewers out there would want to know what inflation is, basically. Maybe put it in
very simple terms.
Yes.
Inflation is basically an increase in the prices of goods and services in the market. A general increase in the prices of goods. So if, for example, the Zambia Statistics Agency or the Bank of Zambia tell you that we've been experiencing an increase in the rate of inflation, and they give you a percentage, basically means that the prices of goods and services are moving up by this particular percentage.
Okay.
So if you look at the report that was released by the Zambia Statistics Agency. They did indicate that the rate of inflation has dropped from 21 to 19.3%. Basically, it means that the prices of goods and services on the market are still going up, but they are going up a little bit slower compared to last month. So inflation is basically an increase in the prices of goods and services on the market, and the impact that it has on your income is that you are not able to buy as much from whatever income you have. So if, for example, you have a salary of 1,000 kwacha, it basically means that if inflation is going up, you may not be able to buy a similar basket of goods from 1,000 kwacha. The purchasing power of the money that you have in your pocket, in your wallet, or in your handbag has gone down. So inflation an increase in inflation is not really a desirable thing, you know, because it erodes the purchasing power of whatever money that you might have. It has got a negative impact on our livelihoods. It has got a negative impact on the business community, you know, and the monetary policy is one tool that the Bank of Zambia uses to be able to control inflation. Okay, the monetary policy does not just control inflation, but there are a number of other variables that are affected when there is a change or an adjustment in the monetary policy rate. So when you look at inflation, you also look at the exchange rate, the way the kwacha fares, or the way it performs against other convertible currencies, and also variables like interest rates. There is a correlation between all of those variables. So the Bank of Zambia clearly indicated in their MPC briefing that they were trying to contain inflation, which has been rising at a faster rate. Okay, so you effect an increase in the policy rate, it will help you to bring down the rate of inflation. But then on the other end, you expect that interest rates will go up. If interest rates go up, it might have a positive impact on your currency. Okay, because I mean, higher interest rates will automatically attract more investment from outside. People want to invest. So all of these variables are interrelated.
Okay, that is very interesting, Mr. KAFWANKA. But looking at, of course, you've mentioned the issue of the depreciation of the Zambian kwacha, you've mentioned the issue of the high inflation, but even the way it is currently, I don't know, maybe we have low liquidity in the economy, which of course we've been seeing as equally got an effect of what is happening around. Do you think this increase was necessary at this point, or you think it was done in the right way, or is it the right thing to do at this particular time?
I believe that it's the right thing to do at this particular time. I think the most important thing is we should look at the bigger picture instead of just looking at a narrow picture. Like, for example, if you choose to look at it from the perspective of an increase in the cost of doing business, an increase in interest rates, that may be right. But if you are looking at it from that narrow perspective, you may not be able to appreciate the bigger picture. Okay, so when you, if you clearly listened to what the Bank of Zambia governor indicated in his statement, he did talk about issues to do with fuel prices and electricity prices, and the fact that the Bank of Zambia was making this particular decision in anticipation of a likely increase in fuel prices, which might spike inflation. It might lead to inflation going up. So this is more of a proactive approach, a proactive decision they have made. Okay, so you need to look at the bigger picture. If you just look at it from the narrow perspective, you may not be able to appreciate the decision that has been made. So the bigger picture is that in as much as interest rates will go up and the cost of doing business will go up, but the kind of impact, the kind of effect that it's going to have on you and I as consumers is positive. Because I mean, if fuel subsidies are removed, if electricity subsidies are removed, you automatically expect that the prices of goods and services on the market will continue going up. You know, and that is something that is not desirable for you and I. Okay, so the kind of approach that the Bank of Zambia has taken is proactive. And I believe that there is close consultation between what the Bank of Zambia is doing, what the Ministry of Finance and all other related institutions are doing. So because of that close collaboration and consultation, the central bank has taken that particular move. But one other important thing that we need to appreciate as well is the fact that adjusting the policy rate is not the only thing that we can do to contain the rising rate of inflation. There are a number of other factors that you have to consider, a number of other decisions that you can take to help bring down the rate of inflation. But the Bank of Zambia only has that particular tool, the monetary policy rate. So looking at it from their perspective, that is as far as they can go to try and assist. Everything else will have to be done on the fiscal side, depending on the kind of decisions that the Minister of Finance is going to make. I think some of those decisions might affect and help to bring down the rate of inflation, aside from just adjusting the policy rate.
Now I know ordinary citizens out there personally, like me, I would like to find out how will this have an effect of on an ordinary person, the increase in the lending rates.
Well, like I indicated, it basically means that you will be paying more. That is, if you have a loan with your bankers, it basically means that you'll be paying a little bit more. So your disposable income has been reduced somehow.
Okay, what for those who don't have loans?
Don't have a loan.
Exactly.
Even if you may not have a loan, if your disposable income has been reduced, and I am a business person that trades in carpenter, vegetables and tomatoes and onions, it basically means that you will not be able to buy as much carpenter from me because your disposable income has been reduced to some extent. Okay, the same thing, you know, we have a number of business people that trade in various items, like we have car dealers, we have people that trade in building materials. So if I was considering getting a loan from the bank to go and build a house, I'll think twice, because I'm thinking, oh, the policy rate has gone up, the interest rate is a little bit more. Can I maybe just delay, or I just decide not to take the loan altogether? It means that the person that is selling roofing materials or cement or any other building material will be affected. If you were thinking of buying a motor vehicle, you will think twice, because you're thinking, oh, okay, I think let me just maintain the vehicle that I have. It means that you have a car dealer out there who may not have a loan, but their business has been affected by that. Okay. So that is looking at it from the narrow perspective. But looking at it from the flip side, inflation will be contained. It basically means that the government is trying hard to ensure that the effects, the ripple effect of what is likely to come, because I mean, from the information that we are getting, there is an increase in fuel prices and electricity prices that is looming. Okay, so they are trying to mitigate the impact of that particular increase in those variables.
Okay. So, Mr. KAFWANKA, just earlier when we were speaking to Mr. Chanda, who is the president for the Global Traders Association of Zambia, he did mention to say most businesses are affected by the high lending rates. He was saying Zambia currently has high lending rates compared to other countries, which has been affecting businesses. Maybe just speak to that. Is it true that our lending rates are high in Zambia?
Yes, for sure, our lending rates are on a very high side compared to other countries within the region and even outside the region. We have a lot of business people, foreigners that have come to invest in Zambia, and they've been able to invest, they've been able to borrow from out there at lower interest rates, and they've been able to put up their investments here, and their businesses are performing very well because their finance costs are on a lower side. But for you and I, if we want to borrow money from our commercial banks, interest rates are on a higher side. So that has had a negative impact on the business community, and even the move that has been taken might add to that effect. But one thing that we need to appreciate is that interest rates are not the only thing. They are not the only variable that businesses will look at. There are a number of other variables, a number of other things that businesses will look at. So if, for example, the policy rate is not adjusted and inflation goes up, it basically means that as a business person, I'll also be affected because your disposable income is going down. Okay, so we need to look at a bigger picture instead of just looking at the narrow picture. Of course, we understand what the Minister of Finance has been talking about in relation to the prices of fuel. He's been able to explain exactly why it is important for us to be able to effect cost-reflective prices. When you look at what has been happening in the last about 2 years or so, the global price of crude oil has gone up. If you look at where we were at the beginning of last year, around May, that was before the dissolution of parliament and announcement of elections, the price of crude oil on the international market was $18 per barrel, $18.05. That is May 2020. By the time we were getting to May 2021, the price of crude oil had gone to well over $60 US per barrel. You know, so there hasn't been any adjustment in the pump price of fuel. So who is covering that particular cost? So the government has been subsidizing. you know, and that is what is necessitating this whole thing. You know, the government would like to have cost-reflective prices, but then they are also cognizant of the fact that this might have a negative impact on the business community. It will have a negative impact on you and I, in that the prices of other goods and services will go up as a result of that. And I think it is a good idea for the Bank of Zambia to take a proactive step and be able to make certain adjustments that will help to mitigate the ripple effect of that particular move.
All right. Mr. KAFWANKA has raised a very important point that, of course, we were about to discuss going further about the increase in the price of fuel and electricity. For the viewer who's watching, do you think increasing the price of fuel and electricity is the best decision that government can make at this point? You can call the number that is on your screen to just give your contribution concerning this matter. But before we do that, let's take a short breather. We'll be back shortly.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Okay, thank you so much for still staying tuned. So we are discussing the monetary policy rate, or the lending rates, which the Bank of Zambia on Wednesday unfortunately announced that they had increased to 9.0% from 8.5%. How is it that it is going to affect me as an ordinary person, or if I have a loan by the bank, or what does this, how will it impact the economy? So we are discussing this topic, and we've been joined by Mr. Blessings KAFWANKA, who is a business and a financial analyst. And we had a fruitful discussion where we've talked about this issue. And I hope you are following the conversation. For those who had questions, a lot of people were asking questions on Facebook, saying, this announcement, what does it mean? So I hope for those who are asking these questions, you've been able to get the answers that are satisfying. But maybe before we move on to talking about where the Bank of Zambia announced that, rather did not announce, but proposed yes, that we need to hike the price of fuel and electricity. Maybe just one last question, Mr. KAFWANKA, on the policy rate. How long do you think the lending rates should be held at 9%? We know that the Bank of Zambia makes changes every 3 months, like every quarter. So maybe just to ask, how long do you think this should be held at 9%?
I think it should be held at 9%.
Okay, just hold your thoughts. We have a caller.
Yes, good morning, madam.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. This is Bennett from Livingston.
Okay, Mr. Bennett, can you go ahead with your contribution?
Yes, well, I have a concern concerning what we're discussing on today this morning.
Okay.
On the increase of the VESCO and the fuel tariffs. Yeah, I understand if you look at those two things, those are the economic drivers which helps the economy to drive safely. So if those things are really increased, which means a lot of economic activities will be affected. If you look at the Us now being right now working on the entrepreneurship, you look at user benefits, entrepreneurship, you know that thing with some other normal activities on the ground. So those guys, what they do, when they're doing their work, they do that the world guys and these other guys. Those guys, whatever they use, they count how much units of it they buy. And they say, this much I'll buy, I'll make this profit and then I'll be able to buy again. So now, if that increase has gone that much, that entails that those guys, they'll be seriously affected. Again, if you look at fuel is the driving engine of the economy. Because once fuel is increased, which means even the economic activities, the commodities, the prices, everything will be affected. So, like for me, what I would attribute to this is the next government. It's a government that I've really accepted that I'm doing how to do this performing right now about the economic activities. But my appeal to the policymakers is that let's revisit this decision that I've made. If they revisit it, which means even all of us are going to benefit, not only those, but even those who are planning to enter these medical activities and maybe international businesses, they'll benefit. But if they decide to say, let's just say, maintain the decision that the Zambia has made to hide the prices for the price of power and the fuel, that one will affect the performance of our economy. That's the contribution I want to share with you this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. That was a very good comment. Yes. Okay, just to hold the thought of our caller, before you called, just to finish up the thought so that we can discuss the issue that you've raised further, I asked Mr. KAFWANKA a question to say, how long do you think the lending rate should be held at 9%?
Well, for as long as the variables, the factors that have led to this decision are still in existence. If there is a change in the circumstances, like for example, if the price of crude oil on the international market begins dropping, and you now begin to see a reduction in the pump price of fuel, then the Bank of Zambia might reconsider. Of course, you've indicated that they normally have their MPC meetings on a quarterly basis, but they do not make those adjustments on a quarterly basis. I think if you look at the last 2 quarters, they've maintained the policy rate the way it has been. And this is not something new. A lot of people have been saying, no, now look, the UPND government is doing this, or they are not doing this. I think this is something that has been going on for some time. At one point, we were at 15.5%. We were dropping to 13.5%. I mean, there's always changes depending on the circumstances that are prevailing within the economy.
Okay, so we have another caller. Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Pardon?
Good morning, madam.
I'm all right, thank you, sir. How are you? Can you tell us where you're calling us from?
I'm calling from Kawe.
Okay. What is your name, sir?
My name is Mr.
Mutukwa?
Yes, madam.
Okay, go ahead with your contribution, sir.
My contribution on the monitoring policy. Yes, madam. I'm just trying to make it clear of some clarification of it.
Can you just repeat your question?
My contribution is monetary policy.
Yes, please, on the monetary policy.
Yes, madam.
Okay.
Just before I can go to the contribution, I would like to ask a question. Yes, my question is that it's all I need to stand now. In view of the results and expectation or even those who are working.
Okay, sorry, can you just repeat the question? We're unable to pick it. I don't know if you picked it.
In view of those who are working or
Oh, okay, I get you. You're asking whether it affects only those who are working or the people who are not working.
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you. Then the other one you wanted to ask?
That's the only question. And my contribution is that they should put into consideration that the modalities and every business of the person, regardless of the future in society. Yes, madam.
All right, sir, Mr. Mtukwa, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Kafwanka, Mr. Mtukwa is asking a question to say, these policy rates, is it just affecting those working or those with loans? I know you've talked to that.
That's why I said there have been a lot of debate, you know, out there. People want to understand exactly what does this mean.
Yeah, you know, that's a very important question, and I think it's important that we should answer it as many times as possible that still want to understand. Like I said earlier on, it affects everybody within the economy, whether you are working, you're not working, whether you're a business person, you're not a business person, it's going to affect everybody. Because when there's an adjustment in interest rates, for example, if I'm running a business and I am selling grocery and I've got a loan that is running with a bank, if there is any change in any variable that pushes my operating costs up, what am I going to do? I'll want to recover, you know, that particular cost by probably adjusting the prices of whatever I am selling. So somebody who may not be a business person, who may not even be working, if they come to my store, they will pay a little bit more from, you know, as a result of that particular decision. So it's going to affect everyone. I did illustrate earlier on how that car dealers are going to be affected, because you think twice about getting a loan from the bank, because now it has become expensive. So you will not buy that vehicle that you wanted to buy. You will not buy those roofing sheets that you wanted to buy. You know, it's basically everybody that is likely to be affected by this particular move. But for me, I think the most important thing is that we should look at the bigger picture instead of just looking at the narrow picture. There was a question that was asked earlier on, or rather a concern that was expressed by one of the callers, saying that fuel is one of the major drivers of production in our economy, and that is a very important point, and is right 100%. You know, only that we do not want to appreciate what has been happening to the price of crude oil on the international market. The kind of model that the Energy Regulation Board is using right now is what they call the cost plus pricing model, where they basically take into consideration all the costs that are you know, incurred during the import of crude oil into the country and up to the time that you get the fuel into your vehicle. And I did explain earlier on that there's been a major increase in the price of crude oil on the international market, from $18 per barrel in May 2020 to now we are talking about $65 per barrel. That is a jump of more than 200%. Okay, so who is covering this particular cost? We know right now that the government has been incurring not less than $21 million subsidizing fuel. Okay, if you look at it from an annual basis, that is well over $220 million that is being spent on fuel subsidies alone. So the other issue that you might want to consider is the impact that it has now on your allocation of resources.
Okay, so Mr. KAFWANKA, we just have to hold your thoughts there. We seem to have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. Can you kindly just tell us your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Stanley Tongolo from Katiwe.
Okay, Mr. Stanley. Can you...
I want to pay my contribution towards this nice discussion going on.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah. What we observed on the price increase, if it is affected concerning fuel and electricity tariff. You know, the source of energy in Zambia, which we're leaning on, is electricity. The charcoal, we are told, is going to be banned from January. going to get the energy for his survival. Because a common man, when the tariff is increased, it will affect the out of things. And not only that, also bank rate is increased. Where are you leading us as our leader? Are we leading us to the graveyard or leading to survival? Because all these things, when it affected, I said you to affect the nation very, very much.
Okay.
So we know charcoal, trees is expensive, fuel is expensive. Now, where are we going to lead on? That's the question I want to ask my beloved brother there.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
You know, that's something that I have labored. That's a very genuine concern, you know. But like I've said again, that we need to look at the bigger picture.
Okay, Mr. KAFWANKA, maybe let me just ask the question in this way. The government is saying they want to table the issue of inflation by adjusting the policy rate so that inflation can come down. But when you increase the price of fuel and electricity, it was going to push or force or the manufacturers to hike the price. Exactly. That might also lead to a price increase, unlike stabilizing the price that we want. So, Mr. KAFWANKA, do you think really increasing electricity and fuel price is going to help us table the issue of inflation, or it's going to push inflation even higher?
Certainly not. Once the prices of crude oil or the prices of fuel go up and electricity prices go up, you expect inflation to spike. You expect inflation to rise. So the decision that the Bank of Zambia has taken is more of a proactive approach. Okay, you know that there is this problem that is likely to arise. So what do we do? Okay, from the Bank of Zambia's perspective, the monetary policy is basically the only tool that they have to kind of like counter inflation. Okay. So that is more of a proactive approach that they have taken. There are a number of other things that can be done to counter inflation. So on the fiscal side, I think there are a number of other things I think the government has been working on to try and counter the effects of inflation and sort out other economic challenges that we are in. So from the Bank of Zambia's perspective, they're basically just taking a proactive move. Because I mean, even if they do not do anything, assuming that they have decided to maintain the policy rate at 8%, an increase in fuel prices would have spiked inflation up. You know, inflation would have probably gone to 23–24%. You know, but with this more adjustment that the Bank of Zambia has done, you expect that inflation might go up, but not as much. Okay, because there is a mitigating measure that has been put in place there. Okay, so earlier on I was alluding to the fact that the government has been spending not less than $21 million on subsidizing fuel because the price of crude oil on the international market has risen to a very large extent. And we are spending over $200 million subsidizing fuel and subsidizing electricity. That takes away resources that should have been spent in other sectors like health. You're supposed to buy medicines for your hospitals. You're supposed to pay, there are a lot of retirees that have not received their money. Education sector, social protection, and so many other things where we need to spend on.
Okay, so just hold your thought. We have another caller. Good morning, you're through to the program.
Good morning to you, ladies, and good morning to my nephew, Pique. This is Reverend Manduri from Aleni South.
Okay, Mr. What's your name?
Reverend Manduri.
Oh, Reverend Manduri.
Yes.
Okay, sir, please go ahead with your contribution or your question.
My regards to my nephew, Pique. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Very, very quickly, much as I think both arguments, in my view, should be having a certain level of consideration. The government, of course, through the Bank of Zambia government, made those announcements and suggestions. First of all, the rise of the monetary policy from 8.5 to 9, and also the suggestion of hiking the fuel. But I think let's be, objective in all this. This is my personal view. But where we're coming from, we've had, for example, regarding the issue of is it a cost service study for Invesco, which until today we still do not have a report in place as regards to that factor, so that then we can understand as to the way forward in regards to the issue of increasing the salary, which has been called for some time now in terms of reflective salary. I think if my memory also serves me right, going back, I think under the administration of the late President Michael Thatcher, we did have with, I think, the issue of fuel, where the subsidies were removed. Then, back to the issue of ZESCO, we had the increment of tariffs, I think, to 75%, and it was broken into two. I think, I do not recall exactly whether it was 20, which year was that. Then there was the rise again to, I think, is it over 200%. Then now we're still talking about the issue of, increasing the tariffs and also the issue of fuel. Your guest, my nephew there, has rightly quoted the fact that in 2020, I think at the aspect of the COVID, the crude oil per barrel has dropped to $18 per barrel. Yet, we, the ordinary people, did not benefit at all. And yet, we turn around because it has shot to 80%, it is at $80 per barrel. And now we want to justify this increment. And yet, we're not taking into account when there was that drop. And also these factors that are there. So I think there must be a balance between the argument of for and the argument of against. Because if the government, though we've had the change of administration from the PS to the UPND, government will continue with the administration that has changed. So there must be a level-headedness and a balance in all these issues. If the government feels that that's the only way out to increase, then let's also look at the other factors. For example, talk about the toll gates, then we have the fuel levy, then we have the road tax. All these are taxes that we are paying. Why then not look at that aspect? Because we as citizens are contributing to so many taxes, and yet we are still being told this is the only way out. I think there must be that fairness. The previous caller did make mention of the fact that next year there will be that, a law that will come into place where the issue of charcoal will be ruled out. So how are we going to help our people? I think it's only fair. If you notice, I think there's a post also by the current president last week where he talked about, the talking the citizens. Now he's in the place of authority and power, head of state. These are the issues that they should be able to reflect on and strike a balance. For me, I'm calling a balance. I'm not just looking at it from one side of the coin. Thank you so very much for coming.
All right, Reverend Lance, thank you so much. So this is the last call that we'll take so that we give a chance to Mr. KAFWANKA to conclude or rather finish up with his thought. So, sir, two issues have been brought up by our last caller, and the first one was the cost of service study, which of course they are saying government was supposed to undertake or is undertaking a cost of service study over the issue of electricity. And they, according to government, that study was supposed to affect how the electricity tariffs were going to be hiked. But what we've seen is that they said it will be done in a period of 6 months. But up to now, the cost of service study has not been released. But government is proposing to say, let's hike electricity prices. By how much? Because we don't know what the cost of service study has indicated, Mr. KAFWANKA. Then the other issue is he's saying we are paying too many taxes. Look at the toll gates and issues like that. But again, you want to say, oh, even this issue, we give you subsidy of fuel. Let's remove it. So his concern is that the taxes in the country are too much.
Too much. And
indeed,
there's this now.
I do agree with him 100% that we are paying a lot of taxes in almost everything. I mean, the fuel that we are buying, the groceries, pay as you earn, corporate tax, turnover tax, borehole tax. There are so many taxes that we are paying, and he's right to express that concern. And that has been one of the issues that we have talked about time and again in the past, and we are still talking about now, that some of these things are the things that are dragging us behind. We are not able to develop economically because we are choking ourselves with these taxes. Businesses out there are not able to perform efficiently because of the taxes. And I think it's important that we should be able to take measures to try and reduce some of these taxes. We've seen that some investors, foreign investors particularly, are given incentives, tax incentives. And I think that should also be extended to local investors as well. Of course, there are so many other things, so many things that can be done. You broaden the tax base so that you have more taxpayers, and then you can now begin to reduce taxes. There are a lot of things that can be done to sort out that particular problem, but that's a discussion for another day. So that particular concern is genuine. And he did talk about the cost of service study. I think that's a question that should be targeted to the rightful authorities. I think it's important. It's fair that we should only. It's only fair that we should be given an explanation as to what has happened, and if there are results, what are the results? And from that particular perspective, it should be able to justify why we should have an increment in the price of electricity. But one other very important point that the caller just made was the fact that when there was a drop in fuel prices on the international market last year, we did not benefit as citizens. There was no adjustment that was made to the price of fuel back home. And now that we are seeing there is this spike that has taken place, now we want to adjust the price. I think that is the reason why the model that the RRB has been using, the cost plus pricing model, is very important. We should be able to follow it 100%. Okay, so if there is a decline in the pump price of fuel, we should be able to effect that particular, pass on that benefit to the consumer. But what has been happening is that at a time when the price is on a very high side, you heavily subsidize. Like right now, there's a heavy subsidy. So if there's another drop to, let's say, $10 per barrel, what is going to happen? The government just pulls out the subsidy and there is no adjustment in the price of crude oil. So I think it is very important that we should be able to follow that particular model so that in the long run, the benefit should be able to should be passed on to the consumer whenever there's a drop, and whenever there's an increment, the consumer should also be able to feel and appreciate that particular increment.
Okay, so in conclusion, do you support government's decision to increase electricity and fuel tariffs? And if that's so, just to conclude, so that you make a lot of people who could understand, why is that so?
Well, my conclusion is that it's only fair that the government should be allowed to effect that particular move. It is not the fault of in fact, it is not really the government that is increasing. They're just basically, effecting a cost-reflective tariff that reflects what has been going on the global market. If there's an increase, then it should affect. But in the long run, I think it's also important that the government should also be able to put in place measures that will begin to reduce the price of fuel. And one of the things that we can do is to work hard towards ensuring that the kwacha begins to perform better against other convertible currencies. Because what normally happens is, if the kwacha continues depreciating, even when there is no increase on the international market in the the price of crude oil, you see fuel going up. So if they can be a sustainable and an appreciation in the kwacha, like for example, if it dropped to 10 kwacha to $1, there is a very good chance that the government might consider adjusting the pump price of fuel downwards. So those are some of the things that I believe should be done in the long term, so that the price of fuel, the price of electricity, and indeed many other items that we import should come down.
Okay. That was Mr. Blessings KAFWANKA, who is a financial and business analyst, and we were discussing the monetary policy rate and, of course, the decision by the central bank to increase the price of fuel and electricity, the proposal, rather, by the central bank. Maybe in concluding, Miriam,
You know, Prudence, we can go and talk about time is not with us. So we'll just say we hope that as government propose this, we hope for the best in the near future and see how best we can be helped as general ordinary citizens at large and, you know, just in, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for staying with us, even as we were discussing this topic. Until next week, Friday, this was Business for Breakfast. My name is Prudence Chota, and my co-host is Miriam Kayemba, and our guest was Mr. Blessings KAFWANKA. For now, blessed morning.